So look, for years, AI progress was pretty straightforward, isn't it? You would get a better model, benchmarks would go up, accuracy improved, and we would all assume, okay, we are making great progress. But here's the thing. Models are getting better and better. But on the other hand, we see that production systems are still breaking. You see, the model gives you the right answer. And on the other hand, the systems break anyway. So why does the AI suddenly feels harder to get into production, even though the models themselves keep getting better? I didn't go to CES 2026, but I did track it pretty closely. The keynotes, the launches, what got demoed, and more importantly, what stopped from getting talked about. And if you look past all that, something shifted. AI crossed from answering questions to start owning outcomes. And that changes everything. You see, the real story wasn't the keynotes or the demos. It was the pattern I started seeing across everything. The robotic announcements, the healthcare devices, the industrial system, autonomous workflows, the conversations kept coming back to the same thing. Simulate before you deploy. Reasoning at runtime, not just baked into the training. System coordinating across cloud edge devices, the whole stack, and the validation built in to the infrastructure. That means the robotics teams, the medical devices companies, industrial automation, the people who don't get a second chance, basically saying, we have accepted the hard truth here. The signals have been there for a while. The frontier model training got exponentially more expensive, but inference kept getting cheaper. That means tokens per dollar kept improving, and you are paying less per query. Energy, not the chips, not the silicon, became the real constraint. Vertical AI system consistently outperforming generic models in production. The most failures weren't just accuracy failures, they were trust failures. When you think about it, the AI's bottleneck isn't intelligence anymore. It is a system that we are putting intelligence into it. And when I say system, let me be very clear because this matters. I'm not talking about the model, I'm talking about everything around it. The memory it carries forward, the rules that decide when it can act, the workflows it triggers, the safeguards that stops it, and the feedback loops that tell you when it is wrong, and the accountability trail that tells you when to step in. The system is what turns answer into an action. Once AI started acting in the real world, that became the hard part. We spent last 5 years or so optimizing for smarter models. We never design for what happens when those models go live and deal with the consequences. But we are filling that gap right now. You see, when AI was living in labs, optimization was pretty simple. Better benchmarks, larger data sets, more compute. But then it moved into factories, hospitals, vehicles, financial workflows, where you can't just say, oops, let me rerun that and start all over again. The failure mode changed. The model was correct, and the system still failed. Think about it for a moment. Here is what benchmarks never measured. The world keeps changing, but your model's understanding of it doesn't. Error cascade. One mistake triggered 3 more problems downstream. Feedback comes too late. By the time you realize something wrong, you can't fix it. Ownership gets messy. And when AI takes an action, who's actually responsible? And some decisions, you can't even reverse them. There is no retry button. So here is the shift nobody's saying clearly enough. Benchmark measured intelligence. Production measures responsibility. In a lab, you are answering questions, but in the real world, you are acting. Once AI starts taking action, being correct isn't enough. You need the system to handle what happens after the model gives you an answer. Deployment feels harder not because model got worse. They are better than ever because the systems got real. And the real systems are messy in ways benchmarks never capture. But here is the good news though. At CES this year, I noticed the spotlight starting to shift and in the right direction, simulating outcomes before you act, not just training once and shipping everywhere, reasoning at runtime, not baking everything into weights and hoping, testing different scenarios in digital twins, discarding the unsafe ones before anything happens in the real world, coordinating decisions across edge, clouds, and devices, containing failures, not preventing them, assuming things will break and designing for that. You see, the conversation has shifted. How smart is the model to how we make the system more trustworthy? And what stopped getting airtime? Benchmark competitions, model leaderboard. Our model beats their model, kind of marketing stuff. But the shift was obvious. AI's failure point isn't the model anymore, it is a system around it. And let me tell you what people are missing. AI isn't just answering questions anymore, it is taking actions, what we call agentic systems. And when it takes action, failures don't stay contained. You can have predictions that's technically correct, but it triggers the wrong action at the wrong time with no record of why. Benchmarks never measures. Benchmarks test. Given input X, produce output Y. But in the production, it is input X takes action Y, which triggers consequences Z, and that affects system W. And can you explain all of that afterwards? So many AI projects look like technical wins, but feels like strategic losses. The model works, accuracy is great, latency is fine, but you can't ship the system. And the numbers prove it. 42% of the companies abandoned AI initiative last year, double the rate of year before. Not because the model got worse, because the system couldn't handle the reality. And that gap between the model is right and the systems behaves correctly, that's where the value compounds or damage compounds. So the shift is creating a fork in the road. And you need to know what's not going to work anymore. And thin wrapper around someone else's model, not defensible. Thinking you have got moat because you wrote better prompts, that's not a moat. Bolting AI features onto your product without actually owning the systems underneath, that won't hold. So where does the value actually form? Orchestration. That's the logic deciding when to call the model, how to call it, and what to do with the answer. Validation and audit. The infrastructure lets you explain what happened after the fact. Simulation. I'm seeing warehouse operations where robot tests 10,000 pick sequences in a digital twin before it makes one physical move. Failure containment, not preventing errors, absorbing them, building systems that expect things to break, and vertical systems with domain constraint built in. AI that knows what it is not allowed to do. And this isn't about building smarter AI anymore. It is about building systems that you can actually trust to run when nobody is watching. So here is what really changed. AI didn't get smarter. We crossed a line. Someone now has to answer for what the system did, not just what the model said. Models are better than ever. But AI got harder because it entered the real world. And the real world, no second chances. So, where is the advantage? Well, not smart answers. Systems you can trust to take action. So, if you are building, don't just add AI features. Build system that absorb failure. That's the difference between a demo and what customers depend on. And if you're investing, quit chasing benchmarks. Look at orchestration, validation, infrastructure. That's where the defensible value form. And if you're deploying AI right now, ask yourself this simple question: would I trust this system to run when nobody else is watching? If the answer is no, then you don't have a model problem. You have got a systems problem. And that's actually good news because system problem can be solved. You just have to design for reality, not demos. All right, one more thing before we wrap. If this reframed how you think about AI deployment, if the model versus system distinctions clicked for you, here is how you can help. Hit subscribe. It helps the show to reach more people. Drop a comment. What is your biggest challenge right now? Models working but something else is breaking? I read every comment. And if you know someone wrestling with AI in production, a founder, a tech lead, or someone is building, send them this episode. That's genuinely the best way to support the show. For the deep dive, I have got a full breakdown on Substack with detailed frameworks on orchestration, validation, and failure containment that we couldn't pack into this episode. The whole system playbook, links in the description. Don't chase smarter models. Chase systems worthy of trust. Until next time, stay grounded, stay curious, and keep forging ahead. Bye for now.